HorrorDeconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's the HorrorDeconstruction. You can find us at horrordeconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/horrordeconstruction, as well as facebook.com/thehorrordeconstruction with your host, Comp, and
Hopelessness and Despair.
today's films are...
Devilman, The Birth, and Demon Bird, or The Demon Bird.
So these are films that came out...
87 and 1990.
Right, so 87 and 1990. So, Devilman, why did I pick this, Danny? Was it to make you feel horrible?
Because you wanted to see a anime.
Right, here's the thing. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. These are in no way good representations of Japanese animation. I'm a big fan of Japanese animation, but but this material is not that good, but it's not that bad to me. Danny might be a different story. I can't wait to hear him throw up when he's talking about it. But I'm a huge fan, in theory, and of the aesthetic of Devilman. Okay, so let me explain what Devilman is. Devilman is a Japanese comic book character, or a manga, created by a pretty famous or infamous manga artist named Go Nagai. All right, so Devilman, and he's had some American references made here. Like Rob Zombie referenced him in one of his songs. I can't think of the name of the song. It might have been that. What was that one? Dragula, or maybe one of those.
Sure.
Or he might have done it in his White Zombie song. But remember, there was a Rob Zombie song where he goes, "Devilman, Devilman."
Yeah. Oh, is that referencing this?
Yeah, very much so. And then also, there's Glenn Danzig. I just laugh at Glenn Danzig. If anybody knows who Glenn Danzig is, he's like this 3-foot punk rock artist. He used to be in this band. What was the band that he was in originally? The Misfits.
Oh, I don't know.
He was in the Misfits, and then he left that band under bad circumstances. I guess he just didn't like the band anymore, and then he's
like one of these like names I know, and I know people that
like if you were in the 90s,
I don't know him.
If you were in the 90s and you listen to rock music, he had a very good song actually called Mother. Mother,
oh, I know that
one. And he's like a guy that like thinks he's a total badass. I mean, he could probably fuck people up because he's kind of muscular. But anyway, why he's referenced is that he actually had a comic book line in the late 90s, probably early 2000s, called Verotic Press, and it was like horror comic books. And essentially, I guess they had the American rights for Devilman, but they didn't do anything with it. They sort of just aped it, and he made this comic book called Satanica. And Satanica, yes, it's as good as you think it's gonna be. It's this woman who's, I guess, a demon from hell, and she has like it's an interesting drawn character, but her head shape is essentially the same as Devilman's head shape. Because if you look at Devilman, he has a very unique looking head shape where it looks like he has bat wings for a face or ears.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's actually a pretty cool look, but if you he sort of looks corny in these animations. But if you see there's one that we're going to talk about later that I think we're going to watch. But essentially, what I'm doing is setting up watching these two Devilman OVAs, which is original video animation in Japan, and then there's another one that came out I think early 2000s that's like horrifyingly grotesque. And then they made a live-action Japanese film, which is possibly the worst thing I ever saw. It was so bad, I saw
worse
5 seconds.
Worse than Dragon Ball.
Well, listen, I'm a fan of Devilman, so imagine. Look, okay, I'll put it to this. Remember Spawn? Remember that movie Spawn?
Yeah.
The Todd McFarlane comic book. Now that movie wasn't horrible, but
it was pretty bad.
Yes. Here's the thing.
The soundtrack was awesome.
The soundtrack's fantastic. I saw Spawn, okay, and I actually used to collect Spawn, the comic book. I met Todd McFarlane, got him to sign my Spawn versus Batman.
Your boner.
My boner, yeah, that's what I did. No, I loved Todd McFarlane. It was a very big influence on me when I used to draw comic books. I still do. And I saw Spawn, and I stopped collecting the comic book after I saw that film. That's how bad I left the taste. Anyway, going back to Glenn Danzig, so they had the rights to do Satanica. There's actually, if you look on YouTube, you can see they actually had a Japanese group make animations for it, but it's clearly a ripoff of Devilman's design. And another funny thing is, two funny things with Glenn Danzig is that there's a video, a pretty viral video of him. I guess he had a problem with a band called Northside Kings or something like that, and he was talking shit to one of the band members, and the guy knocks him out, and he was flat on his ass, and then some guy yells, "North Side Kings are not to be fucked with," or something. But it's gotta be the funniest video of all time. It's just Glenn Danzig, because Glenn Danzig is like trying to be a badass, but he's like 4 feet tall, and he just gets knocked on his ass. And but he wins in there because he fucks this Japanese porn star called Fujiko Mine. I think he still does. And then there's also the song "Mother." There was a photo of him, I guess, getting kitty litter, and so they just took the song that he did, "Mother," and then edited him dancing with cats.
I'm actually looking at that picture right now. That's funny.
Actually, on YouTube, somebody made a video of it. Anyway, back to Devilman. So I'm a little bit obsessed with Devilman just because the aesthetic and the look of it. Danny is probably wondering what the fuck is wrong with me from these two animations that he's just seen. I'll get to you. I just want to clear the air of why I like Devilman so much. Okay, so Devilman essentially is like any kind of American superhero comic book. It's essentially how like Spider-Man gets bitten by a radioactive spider, he turns into a Spider-Man. Devilman, what they do, because Devilman is like a comic book from the late 60s or maybe from early 70s. Right. And they just, like, Japan doesn't give a fuck. Like, their comic books, they're not necessarily a Christian country like America is, where this shit wouldn't fly.
Yeah, they're very violent.
And, well, what do you expect when you have 2 fucking bombs fall on your head? But true. It's like America, they did have comics in the 70s. They did have horror comics like EC Comics and, stuff like that, where people were, throwing shit fits about it because it's a very religious country at the time that all that stuff was released. But they, in these comics, they have like Satan and the devil, and I think they have them as separate characters, and they're more like they're not necessarily treated as evil, but the good guys aren't necessarily good either. And Go Nagai had this comic book for a while, and then later on it kind of had a revival with these different artists interpreting
Is it
the
still
work.
Out?
Yeah, they still make new versions of this comic. That's the thing. Like, the closest thing I can kind of compare it to is still Spawn, but Spawn is still around, but Spawn's not as prolific as it was in the late 90s. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I was reading Spawn for a little while. I really like the HBO animation.
Yeah, that's a show we should talk about, actually. But with, like, American comic books nowadays, like, now you see everything's kind of superhero comic books. Like, I never thought I would see a day where comic book movies would look the way they are and are competently made the way they are. Because, like, I was just surprised. But, even like characters like Iron Man. Iron Man's not necessarily, when the film came out, the comic wasn't necessarily anything people were like running around saying, "Oh, Iron Man," but now he's, as famous as Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Even more so. And anyway, so with Devilman, what happens in Japan is that they still read comic books openly in Japan. Like, it's not something where it's a niche audience like in America, where we read comic books. And I mean, there's
you're
certain,
considered a dork.
Yeah, and there's pretty interesting stuff that's like graphic novels in America, like Blankets and stuff. That's a book I really recommend. And there's also stuff like Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, which had an actually really good adaptation for a film, but nobody saw the movie. So comic books are still sort of on the line, unless they're kind of well-known characters like Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. They're not necessarily treated with the same respect as comic books are in Japan are. But comic books in Japan, like, they will reinterpret their work sort of like how we reinterpret our films over and over. Like, you'll see Blade Runner 2049 or how Prometheus is for aliens. They're just sort of, but that's more of a money aspect. With Devilman, they sort of give respect to the original authors, where they take the material and update it. And with comic books, you can still, fuck around with it and have new art and try new different things and have storylines. Because like just like that comic book film that we saw, I Am a Hero, you saw how how super detailed the artwork in the comic is. You're able to nowadays make comic books just as gorgeous looking as anything as in film, and you're able to have a freedom with it, just like these films. So Devilman, what they did with these, Devilman was obviously a comic book, and they had a 39 episode run originally in 1972. What we're watching is basically an original video animation, which is a short film sort of interpretation of the comic book. And what the first one is called Devilman: The Birth. And Devilman: The Birth is essentially an origin story.
But you know what? This is what bothers me. It barely gives him
Yeah,
an origin.
yeah. That's a
It's so frustrating.
that's a definitive problem with the first one, Devilman Birth, because I'm watching it and I was like, Devilman is sort of a character where he should be Devilman within the first 5 seconds of the movie, and we see flashbacks of his origin. So
We get like 2 minutes of this nice boy, and then the rest of the time he's like a crazy person.
yeah, and the thing is, he doesn't become Devilman until like it's a 57-minute probably short film, and he doesn't become Devilman until like 40 minutes into the end of it. So the last 20 minutes of him. That's sort of the thing that I heard about the new Power Rangers film that came out. There's not. I don't think there's gonna be a sequel because it didn't make its money back. But
Right.
like the Power Rangers don't come out to the last 20 minutes of that film. Could you imagine watching a Power Rangers movie and the fucking Power Rangers don't come out until the very end? Like they don't suit up until the end of the movie. Like what's
Well,
the point of that?
even though it's 40 minutes in, it seems so sudden. Like
Yeah, this is a pretty swift moving animation.
it's weird. Like it's like he's this normal kid. He's a nice guy protecting bunnies and shit. And then all of a sudden, some guy we've never seen is like, "Hey, I used to be your best friend. You should get yourself possessed by a devil because my parents died or something." And then all of
Yeah,
a sudden,
it's-
he's like possessed by a devil, like instantly,
thing
and now
with-
he's Devilman.
With Devilman, there's no logic. It's sort of like I think what they do in Japan with comic books. I guess in comic books in general. I guess I'm thinking comic books in the '70s, since this is based on a comic book from the '70s. I tried to
Right.
watch like the one from the animation from the '70s, but I cannot like. My eyes won't forgive me for watching certain like animation from the '70s. I was just like, no way. I just saw the last episode and I was like, no way.
Right.
But I think the comic books in Japan, they're more of they have like 32 pages, and I think we've spoken about this plenty of times whenever we talk about Japanese films based on comic books like Ichi the Killer or
Yeah.
I'm a Hero and stuff like that. They work on comic books for about 6 months ahead of release. So they actually have these comic books that are like, and the comic books are weekly. They're not monthly. So imagine having 32 pages a week of a comic book. That's a lot of fucking pages to work. That's why they have 6 or 7 guys like in I Am a Hero working on one comic book.
Yeah, right.
And if a comic is popular over there, they want you to essentially keep the storyline going on. So essentially there's no end to the story if you can keep. There's comic books, Danny, that have been running for 20 years. Continuous.
That's awesome.
Berserk, you know the animation that I showed you a while back. That comic book is still going on since 1980 something, like 1987. It's still going on. Like I mean, it's a comic book that's continuing.
Well,
like,
I hear that the guy is really slow, though.
yeah, he likes Kenta Miura, who does the Berserk comic book. He likes to play video games, so he will literally stop 3 months of drawing the
And just
comic
play
to play
video
video
game.
games. Yes, he will. Anyway, so Devilman was a comic book from the 70s, and what my point is, before I got on that little tangent, is that you can tell that they bullshitted a lot. You can tell his like bosses were like, you know, just continue, just have him fight a flying witch or something. Have him fight something else. You can with demons and that kind of thing. If it's a superhero open-ended sort of comic book, you can have him fight anything. You know what I mean? And especially what I figured with this comic book is just for a little general setup with this. You notice I'll be talking a lot in this episode, and I'll let you get to what you want to say about this. I'm sure you have very interesting stuff to say about this. But essentially, what we see at the beginning of this film is that there's a kid named Akira, and that's how I'll always say the name Akira because if you remember that Japanese film Akira, remember that movie? The Katsuro, the Otomo film about the psychics and stuff. It was called Akira, and I was used to Akira from the 90s. And when they redubbed it and they try to phonetically correctly say the names because they're Japanese, they would call him Akira. And I was like, fuck you to hell. I'm just listening to the old one. So I'm calling him Akira. So Akira Fudo is this high school kid. His parents were on an expedition a while back, and they were confronted by some sort of unseen creature that killed them both.
Frozen or killed or something.
Yeah. We find out what happens to them in the Demon Bird one. But apparently what they don't explain in this film is that he's living with Mickey. Mickey is this high school... Mickey Makamura. I don't know.
I kind of figured it out, though.
Yeah, in the second one, yeah. In the first one, it's just sort of... He's just with his friend, Mickey. Is this girl who you think is his love interest, and she's sort of like a sister character in the first one. And the second one is a little bit more fucked up. But he's living with this girl. You never see them at her house in this first film. This is why this is so confusing and a bad adaptation of the first one. You got to cut out a lot of the fat. So anyway, we see Akira's actually a genuinely nice guy. The way he's coming off in the first episode is actually a very nice character. He's a nice kid.
Playing with bunnies.
He's trying to feed
blah,
these
blah.
bunnies, and you can see how they don't give a fuck in Japanese cartoons about any living creature in their films. They want to. The thing about Japanese animation, like especially in the 90s and the late 80s, is it's fucking grotesque. It's like really graphic, the violence.
I don't mind that.
And that's fine by me. I actually appreciate that, and that they actually show horrible things happen to nice people or nice things, and it's like cannon fodder. There's no sort of comeuppance for people, especially in this. So there's these 3 punks that actually just for some reason are having target practice on these little rabbits.
They're such typical punks too.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're dealt with in the comic book, but they're not in the film for some reason. I think they were I saw a little bit of the. There's something called Amon Apocalypse of the Devilman, which is a
That's
remake.
the name of the demon that possessed him, right?
But it's so. But I mean, if you watch this one, you wouldn't know what the fuck's going on because they mentioned the name Amon at the end of it, and you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I know what everything about this film is. I know.
I kind of figured it out,
Okay.
but I got to be honest, it was because I was looking at later films and I kept seeing the name Amon, so I like figured it out when I heard her call him that.
So essentially, this film is like 2 acts. Akira, you're shown he's a nice guy because he takes care of the rabbits, and then he has Mickey, who's his friend, who he lives. I guess it's a foster sister or some family that took him in. I don't know I don't know whether that's his, some family that knew his family or whatever. So he gets to take care. He's taken care of whatever, and then he's run into by an old friend. Who is his old friend?
Ryu. I don't know.
How would you describe Ryo's character?
He's like, so annoying. He's just like out of nowhere. And
here's the
like,
thing: we saw the English dub. When I was watching the Japanese dub after, and I was like, wow, that's so much better. The Japanese voice is so much better. I mean, it's like bizarre acting.
It sounds like he's
here.
like this like 40-year-old gangster guy, but he's like 10.
Like the American acting is bad. The thing I like at least is their cursing is okay. Because there's a lot of cursing in this film, but go ahead, continue with Ryo.
So he's like this like 10-year-old who's like acting like a 40-year-old gangster, and he just comes out of nowhere and basically just like in like 2 minutes forces this main character into this horrible situation against his will.
Yeah, Akira is a dumb fuck. Okay, that's what I'll say. Like, this is Akira is obviously friends, or he was friends with Ryo. I guess he was an old school classmate from his old school. I guess he must have went to a different.
If you saw your friend who you haven't seen in years pull a knife on your girlfriend, you would go with them, like into a place alone. Like what?
It's Japan. Maybe it's different over there. But here's the thing that why Akira's such a dumb. Maybe he is too much of a nice guy. Because Akira runs into his old friend Ryo, who was a kid from his grade school, right? And I'm filling in the blanks that maybe they took him out of that grade school because his parents died and he had to move to this new place, right? Let's say, and then he grew up with Mickey. And Ryo is essentially saying, "You got to come with me. My father set himself on fire, and he tried to kill me." Wouldn't you be like, "Oh man, that's messed up," Just be like, "Okay, whatever." Akira's such a dumb fuck that he's like, "I'll do whatever you say because you're my friend." Danny and I used to have friends and we wouldn't do shit for them. So it's like, are you kidding me? We put up with enough shit. I wouldn't go to a weird house and fight monsters.
No, I wouldn't do any of the things in this movie.
You know what I mean?
But then, like, what's so upsetting is that, like they could really expand on, like, him being corrupted by the demon and becoming bad and shit, but, like, they don't at all. Right. Like, he's, like, saying, like, perverted shit to Mickey about taking off her underwear.
That's in the second one, though. Like,
I got him confused. I watched him in
Yeah. So. This is in this first one, essentially, it's just a Jekyll and Hyde thing, but you never see Dr. Jekyll ever again.
But then he's, like, all, like, killing people They start killing innocent people in a party.
Yeah. Because of Ryo. And it's weird. Let's get into the conversation about that. The way the actual film begins is that, and this is what I think, Danny, I think this is something at least I thought you would enjoy, is that the demons in the world are very Hieronymus Bosch.
I love the fucking designs of the demon.
The demon monster.
The saving grace of this movie.
Yeah, that's the thing that I got into Devilman from the beginning. I actually, like, when I first saw Devilman, I saw this one. I think parts of it when I was younger, but I was like, all right, whatever. But then there was a series when the remake stuff came out, like around the 2000s. Let me try to look up the name, but when
Yeah, no, the designs of everything is like sick. I mean, that was what initially caught my attention, and that's why I'm like willing to forgive a lot of this stuff. But
yeah, I think
I
think you'll be happier with the third one. I can't talk about it in this one, but there's a toy company called Future, Fewture. I'll send Danny the link so you can take a look at it real quick through Skype. But if you look up Future, they had these actual action figures based on the remake of Devilman. Now, when you take a look at that, you tell me how that stuff looks to you, because it's probably it's like McFarlane Toys level of sort of design. The toys were incredible. I actually used to buy them. Like, I was actually obsessed with buying them.
Look cool.
Because I used to buy them. Because the future versions are based on this this Japanese artist's reimagination of it. And there's a third film that we're gonna do later on. Essentially, what I'm gonna do with this is that
these are really cool.
The next two choices I'm gonna be are Devilman related anyway. So we'll get to those. I just needed to have Danny have a primer with these films, and I got into Devilman because the characters were based on that art, and I was like, holy shit, look at this art. You know what I mean? I was like, it's incredible. If you look up the future, I'll find out the name of the artist when we do that follow up. But I collected. I was like, it was like $15 and $19.
Do you have a lot of these?
I do. I actually have a lot of them. I'm missing like 4 figures or something like that. I used to get them in Toy Tokyo and other other Japanese figure stuff places in Manhattan. Yeah. Anyway, so that's how I got into it. And once I read more of the information about the storyline, I was like, incredible. And that is not covered in these first 2 animations. And I think what happened is that it's sort of like how Berserk. If you ever watch Berserk, it's this sword and dark fantasy, sword and sorcery sort of show without the sorcery in it.
And then it leaves you off on the worst possible cliffhanger
yeah,
ever.
and it was made to sell the comic book. It wasn't necessarily made just to be a show. So I think that's what was happening with Devilman. It's like, oh, I saw this first episode, but this is not a good first episode to watch. It's just like, oh, it doesn't make you want to continue watching.
They really need to like expand the story. Like, they needed to make it longer and like
what is essentially the gist of what Rio is talking about? Because he's saying that his father was
his dad basically documented how to fight demons or something and ended up dying in the process. So then he's like decides he's gonna drag in Akira for no reason, and Akira's just stupid and goes with it. But then the part that's the craziest is that so they go into this like perfectly innocent party and start killing a bunch of people.
But was that club attached to his father's like science room? Like, I don't understand. I think he invited those people there.
I don't. Maybe, I don't know, because the way it opened the door and it cut. I don't know.
Rio is a kid of money, and his father.
But then Rio's like, he's crazy. He's killing people.
He really is.
Was just, but then Rio was just crazy and killing people. I don't understand.
And there's a perfectly good answer for why that is in the third film, but it's not.
Yeah, I saw the spoiler, unfortunately, next to his name.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wiki right now, and it says / Rio /
Yeah, and it's an insane spoiler if you ever watched it. It'll be something that you'll see in the next one, but yeah,
that's
Rio
really cool. Actually,
it's actually a really cool thing, but it's not covered in these first 2 films, which I don't know why it's not. And when they made the live action film, it's a clusterfuck up the ass. They fucked that live action movie up. I wanted
why would
you to
try to make a live action of this. That would be like that horrible Faust movie.
Isn't it funny how Faust sort of looks like Devilman? Because he sort of looks similar to him.
It reminded me of it a little bit.
But anyway, so Ro is essentially saying that we need to kill the demons off in this world. It's actually better explained than the Demon Bird episode, because he's saying, demons are essentially mankind's only predator.
I love how global warming is like mentioned as a bad thing.
They cared about it back then. But yeah, essentially what they're saying is that there's this his father found, or somebody had found, and they got a hold of it, this husk of a dead demon, and you can put it on like a helmet. It's essentially the shoulder blades to the head, and you can look through it, and you're able to see millions of years into the past.
That was pretty cool.
And yeah, so there's a part when Akira saw it, and I think what they were trying to do is open up themselves as vessels to join with demons. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why Akira would. I don't know why Akira would choose to go. Yeah, okay. Like, is his life that boring, or is he that too much of a nice guy that he would want to become a fucking demon warrior or whatever?
He's just like, because he just instantly is like, well, I guess the world's a threat. Okay, sure.
Yeah, he's a very dumb character, very stupid. I mean, he's cool later on when he's actually possessed by a demon. And he becomes this sort of badass, but it's like he's a dummy.
But I don't like him as a person when he becomes a badass.
Yeah, he becomes a shithead later on. He's just like stupid.
He's like being mean to Mickey. He's like saying mean shit to her.
Yeah, but that might be more like just teasing. But that's very, I guess the word is problematic, huh? When we get to that one. Yeah. Anyway, so he puts on this helmet and he starts seeing into the past and he almost loses his mind, almost like a H.P. Lovecraft sort of mind-losing insanity thing. And
mind-losing insanity thing.
they go into this club, which I don't know if it's connected or not to the building. And there's people, like punk people, like just having a party. They're just partying. They're not doing anything wrong. Ro invited all these people.
Yeah, but then again, they are moralists because they see people get killed and then they're like laughing as they fight.
Well, that's true. And so Ro has, I guess, created. I might be wrong. He created this party for these people because he's figuring this is like a certain day where the night aligns with the moon and demons will come out to attack the world. I don't know.
They need blood and blah.
It's very hard to It's very hard to put that shit together. But anyway, so Rose starts slashing people up with a broken bottle, and it's like really disgusting looking, like violence. The part that didn't bother me because he slashes some guy on the back. He first slashes some girl. I think he stabs a girl in her tit, and then he slashes some guy in the back. The one that bothered me is when he scraped that guy's face, and you can see his skull through the cuts, and the guy just falls down. And I was like, oh my god, it was horrible. He starts cutting people, and then rightfully so, the punks start kicking his ass, and they're all laughing. And something happens where people start mutating into demons.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Like, I think that one woman turns to a demon. But the second one that bothered me was the guy with the fro and the shades. And the girl's looking at him, and his face elongates, and he turns into sort of this goat monster or some shit. It's like really gross.
There's like sick art in this.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, if you want to just see cool, like, all the regular shit with their humans, it's fucking it's bad.
This whole scene actually reminded me of that, what was it called? Is it just called Demons? It's like, there's like a party. It's a cheesy dance party, and then demons are taking it over.
Was that part 2, maybe? Because part 1 was the movie theater. Maybe Demons part 2. I think it was Demons 2.
It's at like a club or something when it happens. It's been a while since I've seen it.
But anyway, so the whole set piece at the end, and this is like at the very end. I was looking at the time code of the film, and I'm like, wow, this movie's about to be over. And this guy's not Devilman at all. So anyway, what it turns into this big devil ass kicking. And the funny thing is that when you become Devilman, he's like scared out of his mind because they're fucking up Ro and they're kicking his ass. And then he starts running, and then he starts getting possessed by the devil, or it's flowing through him by Amon, which I assume Amon was supposed to just come down to Earth because the humans were turning into demons. And I guess they were just.
And that's cool that they're referencing actual demons too. Like Amon
is that what they are? Okay, demon. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But Amon possesses him. But Ro's personality type is strong enough. Although he's a complete pussy and he follows anybody around, his personality type is strong enough to overtake a demon. Which I don't know if that's because he's pure or not.
You mean
or
Akira?
Whatever? I'm sorry, Akira. Right? Akira is pure enough to actually take over the physical embodiment of Amon. And he turns into Devilman, and I like one of the powers is because there's no set power set for Devilman.
He like shoots laser beams,
and he's also a very good ventriloquist because his mouth doesn't move when he talks as a demon. In fact, none of the demons' mouth moves unless they get hurt. And
could that be dubbing?
I don't know, cause I don't think they didn't say anything in those scenes. But Devilman, like, there's no power set for him, like. He can make shit.
He can fly. He shoots lasers.
He has
antennas and electric.
He's able to fry things with his hands just by looking at them. Yeah, so there's no real like. That's why I think they were making shit up as they went. Like Gonagai was like, "Oh, and then he just put that inside in the comic book. That's a very racist voice Danny just did. And so anyway, essentially how it ends is that Akira kills the shit out of everybody in the room, and it's got to be the worst voice acting at the end. He sees apparently
some pretty bad voice acting.
Rose seemingly dead body underneath the pile of people that are dead, these demons, and he goes, God, what does he say? God, why? God, why? Or why God? Why God? He says something that's just like repeated over. It's like it's almost as good as the Jeffrey Dahmer film when he's like screaming at that guy, "Don't leave" or "Don't go." Anyway, so that's the first film.
He goes, "Stay," and he hits him with the weight.
So what thoughts do you have at least of this film? Because it's not a very good movie.
My thoughts are the story. I could tell that the story must be much better in the manga than the cartoon. The voice acting is terrible in the dub, but I really like the animation, and it's really sick.
The animation is very good. It's a very good. Obviously, in the Japan and the late. I mean, there's still good Japanese animation. Not if you watch the Dragon Ball Super or Berserk, two shows that deserve the new version of Berserk, the 2016 or 2017 version. Yeah, those two shows need much. I mean, they're. I mean, this is old at least school Dragon Ball.
It's great.
I mean, Dragon Ball Super should look fantastic, but for some reason they're cheap fucks. It's horrible looking. And Berserk,
it really is.
If you see how Berserk animation is now, if you look at our Tumblr, I actually put a frame of how the animation. They listen to me.
They downgraded. They took out frames per second. Like I don't understand.
There's a shot in the new Berserk from 2017, one of the latest episodes, where Guts is walking, and I'll tell you this. I think this is how bad it looks. I won't even tell you. You could just imagine what this is. It looks like they had a 3D render of Guts, and then somebody clicked him with a mouse, and then just moved the mouse up and down to represent walking.
So like South Park.
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like in the latest episode. If you look at our Tumblr, you can see I put that up. Anyway, that's what rating would you give this first? So that's the thing. There's interesting world building, but it's not done in this one.
I'm gonna give it like a 7.
Wow,
out of 10.
Really? Okay.
Because I really like the demons.
Yeah, the demons are. You know, you're right. You're right.
And I could see the potential for it. That's the thing that's good. It's like even though this movie is not good, I could see the potential for a good story. So I give it a 7 out of 10. Stabbing innocent women in the tits with glass bottles.
So I was actually going to give it a 5 out of 10 because I'm going to be a harsher critic on it. But you're right. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because the demons are fucking awesome looking.
I enjoyed watching it.
The animations are very good, and it's a very brisk It's a brisk film. It's a very quick film. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Not seeing your friend who you're in high school and you haven't seen him since grade school, and you decide to change your whole life for them just because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So this leads us to Demon Bird, which is the follow-up, and give us a little bit of
this one's even more like brisk and like in the middle of nothing. Like it's just like instantly he's just fighting this like bird lady.
Here's the thing. I will say this is actually better than the first one. Just for the fact that it sort of just it's already within it, which I think the first one should have. But with Demon Bird, we actually find out what happens to Akira's, at least his mother from the first film. You know how in the first film you see his mother was, they run into some sort of monster in the fucking in the icebergs.
Well, we find out about basically all the demons are frozen and global warming is and this is why we need to be part of this like French environment movement. No,
we remember it's time. We got to take care of Pittsburgh, not Paris, according to the president. So.
Well, we need to convert to solar soon, or we're gonna have demons thawing everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so there's a character called Jinman. I don't know if it's Jinman or Jinman. Jinman is this
Jinman
is a turtle-looking motherfucker.
He was cool.
Yeah, he's cool. He sort of has. Here's the thing that reminded me of. Although I'm sure this character came out before Freddy Krueger. Essentially,
yeah. It reminded me of that exact scene.
He's this sort of weird turtle snake monster demon from hell. his back has the shells of all the people he's consumed. They lose their bodies, but their souls are still
Little
intact
head
on his
tumors.
back. So essentially, if you saw Freddy Krueger Part 4, what was that, Dream Warrior? No, that's Part 3.
Yeah, it's in the third and the fourth.
Oh, it is it? Okay.
He it
I remember
does it a
more in
few
the fourth,
times.
but you're right. I remember Part
It
4
does it in
because
later movies too, where he shows like his souls in his chest and everything.
I just remember watching Freddy Krueger Part 4 on TV, and they had to blur out that girl's enormous tits as she was breaking out of Freddy Krueger's chest because they had to blur it out. I was like, wow, this is a good movie. Anyway, so Devilman sees this guy. He's fighting Jinman. Jinman has his mother's head essentially in the center of his shell. And he fucks him up, and it's a whole thing where
they just don't really believe in like story development or character
no, not at all.
development.
Not with this. I'm sure in the comic book it was much. It was
Because
better.
could you imagine like if you saw your mother's head in a fucking demon's, like, have some story, like they give it like a 2-second explanation and that's it. Like,
yeah, I think for that at least, I thought it was handled well. I mean, he looked like he was kind of trepidation. He had some trepidation in fighting a monster and hurting his mom's face. I did laugh when he slashed that one guy's face to death, and he was like, "Whoops!" He was like, "Uh oh." But then you literally find out later on he really doesn't give a fuck if he hurts anybody because he fucking takes down a plane and it blows up and he doesn't care. Like. They blow up a town in this movie and they don't care. It's very bizarre. It's like he's not a likable hero in this movie.
I don't know if it's because the demon is corrupting him.
I guess it could be that. I mean, when you see the third one, Danny, you'll be like, God damn, this guy's not a superhero at all. So anyway, essentially there's 3 kind of set pieces that were missing from the first one, where he fights demons essentially one-on-one. He actually fights a multitude. So I did enjoy Jinman's appearance in this film. And he fucks.
Yeah, he was cool.
He fucks Jinman up, then he kills him. Pretty grotesque, but they don't show it. I thought they would show it more. And you can tell the art style is different. Like they changed the art because the art looked different in 1987 compared to this. The character designs are much more closer to Go Nagai's artwork.
Okay.
And yeah, he goes to the hospital. We find that Ro is still kind of is it convalescing?
Yeah. So what is this, like a week later or something?
Word. I guess, I don't know. So Ro is being taken care of at the hospital, and he's still a jackass. I like how he kind of waves away that nurse, and he's like, "Get out of here," essentially. And this leads to a very bizarre dream. It's funny how Akira's like naked for like 70% of this movie, and he has no genitals. These like blacked out genitals. I like how he has a dream where he's on a beach and Mickey scares him, and then people just kind of appear. And I was like, "This is a bizarre."
That was a cool one. I like.
I didn't understand that it was a dream. I just thought he was at a beach and he didn't see people in front of him. I was like, "What do these people come out of?" And
I
essentially,
really like when those people are falling through the ceilings and shit. That was
cool. That's cool. So we'll get to that. We find out that in this film we see that he lives with Mickey. There's still no explanation of what's going on. We do find out from the beginning because his parents died that he's living with Mickey and he's okay now. And he is living with his family, and there's a character. What did they call her in this one? Because in the I remember her name.
Serene.
Because I remember her name
or something.
But it was different. It's like originally I thought it was Selene, Silene, but they don't call her by that. And they call her something else in this movie. I was like, what's wrong with her name? Like, what the fuck's going on?
I'm just looking at the wiki right now. I don't
know. So it's called Cyrene in the wiki. It says a beautiful female demoness with bird-like wings, not inherently evil, but after the loss of her love, Amon, she becomes enraged. And you don't really know that. You just think essentially what
she's a demon.
Yeah, essentially Serene, she's a demon. She's like a bird woman.
She looks like
cute.
What's it called? Like a fairy.
Yeah, if you saw the first film, the fairies looked like that. They had like angel wings on their head.
Yeah,
and stuff
in the very
like
beginning. Yeah.
Or bird. I'm sorry, bird wings or whatever the fuck she has. She's like basically a demon bird. My only problem with her character design is her tail feather, because it begins in the middle of her ass crack. It's like a tail feather should be above your ass, not like in the middle of your ass crack.
Well,
it
she's
makes
a
no
demon.
sense.
Her ass crack needs feathers, you know.
I think what they were basically doing was trying to make a low cut dress for a demon because she's essentially naked.
Built-in toilet paper. It's great.
So I do like Celine's design. I like how she has the wings for her hair, for her ears, or just to fly around with them and stuff. They even have that cool scene when it's raining on top of the house and she's using her feathers just like a bird would to cover herself. Essentially, what what her purpose in this film is that Amon was her lover, I guess in hell or wherever the fuck they were, and since he merged with Akira, his consciousness is no longer sort of
So
there.
they got a love triangle between her and that Triceratops dude.
Yeah, but it's very muddled. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I just thought, oh, she was pissed off at him, and she wants to kill Akira for taking over. And that's the thing I don't like stakes about demons in movies. Like if you kill a demon, it just goes back to hell. I mean, it'll come back. Like, I mean, obviously, if demons are coming here, like, there's no permanent way to kill them.
Maybe it can't come back.
Well, I guess so, because they do, like, one demon gets killed and he goes, "I'll see you in hell, Akira." That's what they tell him in the movie.
Yeah, because, like, a lot of the times, like, there's, like, a boundary between hell and, like, our world, and they can't cross it unless they've already crossed it. It's hard to cross it, maybe.
Yeah,
so
but obviously there's some shenanigans going on where demons are able to, like, there's some kind of bigger thing going on, which actually I'll talk about later on when we talk about the third film. Anyway, so we get back to Akira living in Mickey's house with her parents and her little brother, and I mean, Akira's like a fuck. If Akira said if they made this movie today, like an American version, I'm sure in Japan they'll still have him talk the way he does. But boy, oh boy, with this piss feminist stuff, he would be a misogynist, rapist, pig.
The triggering would be off the hook.
The triggering would literally cause an electric storm, much like Celine does in this film. Because he's like, "How about I soap up your tits?" And he's talking like that to her, and he's making fun of her underwear, which actually freeze framed, and it says "You are mine" with two apples talking to each other. Mickey's a nice girl. I don't like her voice. I don't like anybody's voice really in this film. They all sound like, you're right, they all sound like characters from talkies from the 1940s or something.
Hey, how you doing? Like, that's how they talk. Hey, what's up?
Get the fuck out of here. They talk like that. It's like, what's wrong with you people? Anyway, so we treated to, of course it's Japan, so we see a 15-year-old or 16-year-old girl nude taking a bath. So I guess that's,
Right.
I bet you there's 50 animators in that scene to make it look as great as possible. So what happened is Celine is running around, and she has the help of two other demons, a water demon and this sort of squid monster demon.
The water demon was pretty cool.
Yeah, the squid monster is the one that controls, I guess, phasing reality or something. I don't know, because it merges people into the walls in the house and shit. And it's like, it's really just that's the good thing about these. If anything else, is that it lets you see weird shit. Like, I mean, it's really fucking weird, out there type of stuff. Like there's a part when
the designs and their powers are all really interesting.
Like little things, like when what I really like, I thought the screen that I was watching was fucked up because Serena's standing on top of the house, and there's a person walking by the house, and they take a look up at the roof, and you actually see the clouds kind of go into this. They blur in the middle. And what happens is that Celine is invisible to the person downstairs, at the street level. And I didn't notice that until after, we see her. And I was like, oh, that's so fucking cool that just such a little small thing like that, where you can't actually see them.
Actually, I didn't catch that. That's cool.
And but then she has these two monsters, one water demon to attack Mickey in the tub, and the other monster to essentially do something I hadn't seen in the film. I saw this movie a while back, but I forgot about it, where they phased the father halfway into the wall and the mother into the ceiling, and it's just like a really disturbing sequence when the mother's slipping out of the ceiling, like she's like coming down and the lights are turning on. Like, wow, I was like, if I saw that
in her body, it was really cool.
It's a very cool scene, and with the funny part that begins that is actually the little brother who's getting juice. He screams, he runs up the stairs, and he goes, "My dad's in the wall!" And Akira's like, "Okay, go upstairs." And he goes, "Okay," and he just goes upstairs. I would have been shitting bricks, jumping out of the window.
He probably goes upstairs and just starts furiously masturbating.
And what's funny, what's funny that I didn't catch until like now is that in the end credits, he's actually asleep in the bed with the rabbit from the first film, the one that Akira saved. So that's
really
nice. I think it's the same rabbit.
So he sees his dad in the ceiling, and he goes to sleep with a rabbit.
Yeah, it doesn't make any... Japan, man. Who knows what's going on there? Anyway, so Mickey's obviously getting naked in the bath. She's taking a shower, and this water demon attacks her. And Akira has to fight these creatures. What did you think about it's sort of like a Power Rangers-esque, Godzilla... I mean, Godzilla essentially is a monster.
Yeah, like the types of creatures being sent. I really like the phasing guy. The one that's like the face that he pulls out of the floor.
Right, that guy. that's the strong point of these movies, is that they're not good adaptations of the material, but they're good action set pieces, which makes the first one suffer. At least Demon Bird, it's just like if you just walked into Demon Bird, you're like, what the fuck am I watching? But at least it's action and like
it's cool. I just wish there was more like character development.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen with this because it's Japanese animation. It's essentially a commercial for a comic book and toys or whatever they're selling in Japan, like figure models and shit like that and statues. But it's really good action pieces, and the animation is even better than the first one. The animation is incredible, and there's these high-flying aerial battles and like very disturbing that Devilman doesn't have to.
I do like that the Triceratops guy, like Kame, he's called the one that sacrifices himself.
Yeah, that had to be the funniest fucking line in the film, besides the your dad's in the wall scene. And he says, and it's like this demon that we haven't seen at all in the film, or not that I remember. He comes out at the end because Selena's gotten properly fucked up by Devilman in the woods. And he's like, I love you. And then he just tears his own head off so she could fuse with him. So I guess there's a lot of fusing. Like, sort of like.
Could you imagine if you're like this, beautiful, like, fairy sort of thing, and this big ugly Triceratops guy like loves you? Jesus.
Yeah, how would they even fuck? Like, that's like borderline bestiality.
He would
they're all
fuck
beasts,
her with his
but
horn.
it's like bestiality.
His horn turns into like a dildo or something.
I guess that was his fetish anyway. His neck right up her ass, because that's what essentially what he does. He got to be a part of her.
Like, he's fucking her with his horn dildo, and she's launching her talons into his asshole.
There you go. I like how her when she's launching her arm, she's like able to launch her hand. Like, I can't think of something.
It's like Krang in Ninja Turtles.
Right, there you go. But her hand changes size. Like, it changes to the size of a human if it gets you. Then we see Rio, like, shoots her with a fucking... you'd think these are monsters. And he still shoots her with a sniper gun.
Shotgun. And it hurts her.
Was it a shotgun? Yeah. And he gets his ass kicked by her flying talon. I like how her talon is able to spin. Like Kung Lao's hat and stuff
also,
like that.
How does Devilman... How does Akira, like, not die when he's, like, impaled, like, 4 times? Like,
maybe his, like, internal, his, like,
because
vital
they're
organs
all dying. All the demons are dying from these types of injuries. How come he isn't?
I guess Gonagai, there's another extra power that he has. But I like how he looks with his bat wings and stuff when he's flying around. He looks cool. But he did two pretty fucked up things. Like, well, he did one fucked up thing. Is like, he's looking for Selene in the air, and he's pissed off, and he knocks the wing off an airplane, which crashes and kills God knows how many people. Like, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, he's supposed to help humanity, not fucking blow up airplanes. Like, he has no point.
Is he supposed to help humanity? I mean, they don't really ever say that.
Well, he was there to stop demons from taking over the world, so I assume that's the point of his character. And essentially, Ro is saying that they need to stop demons because the demons will be man's greatest predator. And, like, you know how they actually have this... It's an interesting take on the material that herbivores, if there were too many herbivores, they'd be overrunning the planet, just like humans have nothing to stop them from overpopulating the world. And which is pretty cool, whatever. It's a bullshit excuse for monsters flying in the air. That makes no fucking sense. But
so therefore, when you have more global warming, you release the demons who then kill you. So we should keep on this track to help our overpopulation.
Yeah, but it is once I saw that part where the rhino monster man is like, I love you, so he sacrifices himself. I was like, at least Danny had to laugh at that, or you must have been just confused. You must have been like, what is this shit?
I liked it, actually. I
laughed my ass off
a little bit of.
I think I like the material.
In a little bit of story, like they're not.
Yeah. So these movies suffer from having no storylines, but the funniest part is that the Japanese are not afraid to have a villain kill the good guy, or kind of get away with winning, sort of not winning the hero. Right. Especially with material like this, because it is darker, and when you find out of what the storyline leads up to, it's way more darker. And it sort of reminded me of, there's a comic book, there's a character called Kraven the Hunter in Spider-Man. And essentially, I never read the comic, but apparently what happens is that Kraven actually beats Spider-Man. Like, he wins. And then he was like, well, and he kills himself. So, like, that's the only character Spider-Man lost to, apparently, in the comic books. So, essentially, this sort of same thing where Selene fucks him up so bad, he loses his pants and his arm. And he's on the floor. He's like, I'm ready to go. You can take me, and then She literally drops dead while still standing up.
Do you think that he gets his arm back?
Yeah, he did. You see it in the end credits. Ro puts his arm. I guess he puts his arm back on him. I don't know. He's bandaged up and he has both arms. And
good for him.
Mickey's parents are okay. They're waking up. Like, they won't remember what happened that night. The son, I don't think anything happened to him where he forgot it, but you see him in the bed sleeping. So he must have been
having nice little bunny dreams.
But I did like that the villain essentially won in this, but they lost at the same time because they just dropped dead. Although I would think a rhino would kind of fall over. He just kind of stood in place, but I guess he was sort of square.
No, he's so big, he can't fall.
Did you like that resolution that he just dropped dead? She just kind of stood there and she freezes, and that was it.
It was okay. I like the idea that she had the satisfaction of thinking she won when she died.
Right. It was just funny how
nice.
she just froze, and that was it. She had that dumb look on her face. I could tell you this, I never saw that in a movie before. But I did think this was a much better film than the original one, because we don't have to sit through origin stuff. I still think the first one
badly done origin stuff.
Very poorly done.
Fine.
Yeah, very poorly done origin stuff in that first one. And I think that's obviously the fault of the directors of those films.
There's no story in it to balance it out. So
right, it was sort of just a lot of bullshit. But it was a quick hour long. It's not even an hour. It was like 57 minutes. But I think I can't even get the names of the directors. That's how fucking old this material is. The director for the first one is Umanosuke Lida. Okay, very
Same
good.
Here. Same here.
Okay, so he got better with the second one, or she. I can't tell the name. Must be a he. But in the long run, what did you think of this like first exposure to this material? It's not very good, but
I would like to read the comic to get a better idea.
Here's the thing with the comic books. The comic book is obviously very 70s, so the art is not sort of up to snuff as how you'd get used to it.
Well, I don't even care about the art. I'm just saying the story. Like, I want to know
the story is actually very good from what I've heard. I'm going to actually read the comic book. But then there was obviously the remakes and plenty of those. And the art in that is just like, those action figures I showed you. I do want to cover I'm on Dark Side of the Devilman, and also, what is the new one? Devilman, the live action movie.
I'll be watching those in Japanese with subtitles.
Yes. I think there is no American dub of because I'm on the Dark Side of Devilman is possibly one of the most offensive cartoons I've ever seen. Because of shit that I'm not kidding, like shit that I saw and I was like, holy, they would never release this in America. It's that fucking bad. Not bad in it's an awful movie. It's just there's bad shit in that film, and it's a movie. It's an animation where you feel dirty after watching it. That's how grotesque that shit is. And the Devilman, the live action, is so fucking horrendous. It's so horrendous. We'll be talking about that one. But the good thing is, which I'm very happy to talk about it.
You're not going to make me watch it, are you? The live action?
Oh, yeah, we're going to do those. This is the next two choices for me, at least.
Oh, Jesus.
Netflix is going to be releasing a new Devilman animation. I don't know if it's a miniseries, but it's from a very, very good director, and we'll be getting into that. It's based on the original storylines, but the
I'm saying
art.
Netflix original.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And the trailer's already out, so it looks really cool. It's just like a teaser. It's not an actual trailer thing. It's coming out next year, I think. Anyway, with that, what rating would you give this film? The Demon Bird.
I'd give this also a 7 for different reasons.
Okay.
Because it's more fun, but it has no story, which is bad. So, 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10.
This was a bizarre choice for Danny. Even the most bizarre thing we've probably ever did on this show, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good rating here. 7 out of 10. Flying through the air and destroying an airplane for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason at all.
He should have just been like halfway through the fight, said, he's a demon. He could have been like, come on, baby, why don't we just hook up and that's it? Because he was essentially her boyfriend, but on their human thing. But I guess she was disgusted. But she was racist against humans.
Yeah.
I give this a 7 out of 10. Telling a girl you grew up with that you'd soap her tits up, and she actually thinks about it later on, so it's not too bad. She even decides not to even wear panties anymore. Look at this fucking Japanese, man. They love
See how she likes
teenage
that.
girls. So also on Netflix, if you want to check out, they have Devilman versus Cyborg 009. It's a cute little two-part animation, which is new and it's a lot better.
Okay.
It's clusterfuck, but it's fun to watch if you're into Japanese animation. And I'm the only person that watches Japanese animation. I don't know anybody else, so that's it. I'm talking
I
about it
watch
here.
it sometimes, but
So
not
with
nearly
that,
as much as you.
I think these first two films are not that good, but worth a watch just for the look of it, just for the aesthetic. Pretty good horror films, and the overline storyline when you get into the other films are fucking incredible. So watch these two, and then my next pick will obviously be Amon Dark Side of the Devilman when we get into that, and then we'll kill ourselves after we see the Devilman live action in
Oh,
horror.
no.
So with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Black Hole Sun.
The Horror Deconstruction.